Good evening and welcome to the first semi-final in the James Capel Speed Chess Challenge. Tonight's game we have Michael Adams with white, international master from Truro, and Grandmaster John Speelman with black. Michael, you were white. Would you like to start taking us through the game?
Okay, yeah. I was white. I started with my normal opening move, pawn to e4.
And I have a variety of bad openings which I play as black, and this time I chose this one, the French defence.
White plays pawn to d4, controlling the centre.
And I challenge him.
Develop my knight to defend the e-pawn.
And I play here, pawn to queen, pawn to c5, trying to free my position.
Generally challenging white's pawns in the centre and freeing the black position, right?
That's right, yes.
Pawn exchange.
And I take back with the queen. This is the trendy thing to do, and I've been doing it for a while. Other people take back with the pawn sometimes.
Develop a knight.
And I've won a pawn, though it's known to be temporary.
I can develop my bishop with a tempo on the queen.
I retreat ignominiously.
White castles.
And you must develop this knight to control the e4 square, so he can't kick you around.
Knight b3.
And after
white
this
gains,
move, Michael, you're going to get the pawn back, right? You're
white
attacking
gains
the,
sufficient pressure on the d4 pawn.
Yes.
Yes, it would be
Can't be
exceedingly
sufficiently
foolish to
defended.
play this move defending the pawn. There are various unpleasant consequences. Well, they're really too horrible almost to go into, but I would lose at least a pawn and probably the game very quickly.
Yes.
So
It's much too risky to try and hang on to the pawn.
was just dire and horrible, yes.
Right.
So I developed the knight.
Capture the pawn.
I slopped it off. Well, I have a choice here. I can either develop my bishop to the square, or I can play the pawn move, and I usually play this one.
Play c3 to consolidate my knight on d4.
And now he's protected his knight, I move my queen away.
And now in this position, Michael, I was watching the game while it was being played. I believe that you dropped your bishop back to d3, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Must say I was expecting you to defend the bishop and put the queen here. But clearly you didn't think that was the right idea.
Yeah, I think this is more mainline theory, queen e2, but I like to bring the bishop back so it can menace the h7 pawn.
Right, so what you're doing is
in general.
you're aiming your bishop at the black's king's wing,
Yes.
and hoping that when black castles on the king's side, which he assuredly will in the future, that the bishop will be well placed as an attacking piece.
Yeah, I feel the white bishop is going to have to be withdrawn from c4 to
Sooner or later.
d3, which is a more useful diagonal
Right.
eventually in any case.
Is this well-known theory, John, or are you on your own?
Well, I mean, I've played this sort of position lots of times. I'm not sure if bishop d3 and this is that position is known. It must have been played. The important thing for black is not to let white really get at him. As you'll see later, I really messed this up quite badly. I have a tempo anyway. I hit his pawn on
h2, right.
which he moves. And I castled. I'm not sure if that's right. I don't know what you think.
I've had this position before, and I think black played an immediate b5.
That's possible. I don't like b5 because it weakens my queen's wing a bit against a4, I think. b6 is possible as well. I can't remember what I've done. I've played this position lots of times, and usually I don't get quite get mated.
Yeah, this is a good chance for white to gain a tempo on black's knight here.
And I now played king h8. I think this is okay.
Queen f3.
Attacking the knight in f6 twice, so you're now...
No, you didn't. You played rook e1 first.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, no, in fact,
Fair point.
white played rook e1 as a preliminary.
And now I retreated my knight rather wimpily all the way back to here. I had almost this position as white against a Cuban called Nogueras in Belfort in France earlier this year. And I got a big advantage and then lost. No, I drew just. In fact, though...
Via a lost position.
Well, via a bad position, but only for 2 or 3 moves. In that case, the pawns were this way around, which maybe is better for white if you can maintain them. It means this bishop has less scope. However, I mean, obviously both... The position isn't terribly good for black if he's going backwards so quickly. I mean, I'm saying come hither to Michael, but on the other hand, I don't have anything very unpleasant to...
So you're trying to provoke Michael into a your attack?
Indeed, yes.
Will you provoke Michael?
Not terribly, was
I
it?
don't know, I think I was quite controlled. I went queen f3.
Right.
And I went bishop d7. Queen f3 is a good move, isn't it? Maybe I should do this or something just to...
Yeah, I like queen f3 because it prevents b5 in a lot of positions.
Presumably it does. I didn't work out whether I could go b5, queen takes rook, bishop b7. I mean, I suppose I should have worked out whether I could or not, but I was wasn't really up to it at this moment. So I mean, I went here. Well, that's badly phrased, but I decided I couldn't. And you put a rook in the d file.
Yeah, I just developed
And
pieces.
one of my problems in this position, and I said I had almost this position as white, is that there is play against these two bishops. I have two bishops in d6 and d7, and they're almost on prise, because he has a tempo on h7, which is attackable. I went rook e8, no, which is okay.
No, bishop c2
Bishop C2.
fares the idea. Queen d3 when I have pressure against the two bishops, as
Yes,
John just mentioned.
let's just try and conceptualise this idea.
Yeah.
White's has played the bishop back to c2, and the idea you're thinking of, Michael, is to put the queen on d3, isn't it?
That's right.
And then you're threatening checkmate on h7, but you're also threatening perhaps to move this knight away somewhere, say to b5 or to f3 at some moment. And then you have tremendous pressure in the d file against black's column of bishops.
Well,
and
you're
you
actually
would win
winning a
material.
piece, yeah.
So let's put the pieces back.
So I retreated my bishop,
Yeah, so black's next move is a defensive move designed to stop that kind of thing happening.
keeping my beautiful structure.
Right.
No, I went kh1.
Now, the reason that you did this was because there are variations where I escape from the attack on the bishop by going bishop to h2 check. It ain't check anymore. I presume that's what you did. Yeah. Now, I should probably go f5 about here, shouldn't I? And just say, all right. I mean, I've done it everything.
Probably.
It's not a terribly beautiful move, but I think it needs to be done. I whinged around. I went bishop c5, or wimped around.
Yeah.
Bishop h4 you played, didn't you? That's a good move as well. And now I lunged with e5. I think I should go f5 again. I thought bishop g3 was a good answer. I really wasn't terribly fond of my position. And you went knight f5.
Yeah, white's knight's driven to the square. But
It's
it's very
driven
good
to where
square.
it wants to go.
on
I
the
played
king-
b5,
attacking
didn't
the
I?
king side.
Did I go here? Yeah.
b5.
That's
Yes.
not a great move either. No, you played a little combination here.
Now, this is a very interesting position. I was looking at this position, and I thought that white had a good position.
Well, I think white's probably... I was frightened of b4, actually.
But I wasn't quite sure how white would continue. And then suddenly, almost out of the blue, Michael, you put this knight here on d6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure even if that's strongest. It's practically winning, but I mean, b4 might be winning as well. I'd forgotten you could do this, actually.
Yeah, I was very shocked when you played it. And once you see the idea more clearly,
Yeah.
it becomes apparent what's going on. But
Indeed.
it looks terribly shocking to put a knight where it can just be captured by the bishop.
Yeah,
So I
it's
slopped it
a
off.
similar idea to earlier, the queen coming to d3 with the tempo
Yes.
on h7.
But instead of winning material now, it's a sort of material transaction where you
Indeed.
just get a strategic advantage. And said you had to take the knight.
I had to
of course.
take it, yes. And he threatens
D3.
mate.
Mate on h7.
And I can't
Threatening
go
mate
bishop,
and the bishop.
I can't go bishop f5, because if I, well, we'll just show a little variation. Bishop f5, he takes this guy here, and then he plays this move, which serves me right, really, for putting all my pieces in stupid squares.
And that's the end of the game, of course.
Well, after captures my bishop on d6,
D6 is
hangs in a rather dire manner, yes.
Right.
So I grovelled on,
White takes the piece back.
indeed, and I slopped, because I had to. I would have done... do you think I had to? Maybe I should have gone queen f7 or something. It's really bad.
Let's just take stock of this position. White's played this rather remarkable attacking combination, putting the knight on d6 and then winning it back again. And we have a position now where both sides have two rooks and two minor pieces each.
Yeah.
But White's got the bishop pair in a very open position, and two bishops operating together can be an extremely dangerous attacking force.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that the fact that black had moved forward his pawns on all fronts and that white had these two roving bishops and the very active rook gave white a really big advantage.
I think white's almost winning. I mean, what I want to do is to do this move, in which case I'd be...
Which, of course, is illegal.
It's extremely illegal for about 6
Completely
reasons, but in that case, my position is horrid, and I got a lost position in a few moves, didn't I, fairly efficiently.
You played h6, right?
And now I went I suppose g5.
Give the bishop a retreat.
I suppose this is a bad move. I mean, it's really pretty dire. I want to lose a pawn sufficiently quickly that you don't take it and keep control. But, I mean, I didn't intend to lose a pawn the way I did. This allows a small, nasty combination. I hit him again. I suppose I should have gone something like e4 pawn. Well, it's all too horrible to contemplate, isn't it? Now what should I do? I went
Bishop rook f6.
rook f6. It's a little bit grim as well.
And then Michael played his rook back to d5, which more or less seals the fate of the black pawn
Oh,
on
yeah.
e5.
And I went here, hoping... I mean, I'm going to lose a pawn now because of the tactics in the diagonal from d4 to h8, but I prefer the white squared bishops were off while this was occurring.
Yes, and of course Michael moved his
He
bishop.
played a good move, yeah. Well, I thought I was lost by now. I'm sure you agree, but I also
I'm sure
thought,
black should be lost, but
Yeah,
it's
but I
very
thought I could-
difficult to...
it's not so easy, no. And now you decided to... You played a little combination based on the pin and the diagonal.
Another little combination, yes.
I don't know even if that's best. I don't know if you can do something even more unpleasant to
I
know.
think possibly rook c5 is stronger.
Yeah, I would guess that if you didn't take the pawn for a couple of moves, if you went rook c5, yeah, and then rook c6, I could practically resign. I would guess.
But this looks pretty strong as well.
This is not bad, yeah.
And now, I wonder whether you could play, before taking the rook, Michael, which you did, I wonder whether perhaps playing bishop d4 first might have been stronger.
Don't think so.
No?
No, I mean, I'll play king h7.
Oh, I see. OK, so you took back.
Yeah, and I removed it.
And then bishop d4.
No, bishop d4.
And this is a classic example of the pin, isn't it? Again, I would like to play... There are various illegal moves which would be good for me, but not very many good legal ones. So I moved my king out of the way. He took, and I got my knight out. Well, I have some chances here, because I have sort of space advantage on the king's side. However, he does have the two bishops, and white is clearly winning at the moment.
Yes, and the amazing thing about this game was that you've reached this end game. It's a very simplified position, where white has an extra pawn. But neither of you had an awful lot of time left here, and black hung on very, very grimly. And
did.
The last part of this game was played at a furious tempo, but all the moves coming with machine gun-like clatter. And black desperately trying to hang on.
Yes, well, you're going to have to help us with the moves, I think, because, I mean, it was all rather random from our point of view.
Yes,
by
we
now.
may have to reconstruct the game here, because it was such a long, tense battle here. So what happened now after...
I think I went king
You
g1
went king
here.
g1, and I got my king up, and king f2, and I went
King
here.
up here.
And around about here. Well, I understand it's difficult to do.
g3
I
here.
guess that's okay.
I think it's necessary to get rid of this f4 pawn.
Probably, yes, and I slopped it.
Try and bring my king into the game.
And I went knight f5.
Knight f5, that's correct.
I mean, I decided that I wanted to pretend that I wanted to take this bishop with the knight. Whether I do or not, I don't know, but certainly if I can't pretend that, I have no chances. So, did I go here now?
No, you played king f6.
Oh, because if here, then bishop c2 was unpleasant, wasn't it? Yes, so...
King f6. Now, let's again take stock of this position. I thought at first that white should win this ending rather easily because of the extra pawn and the great force of the bishop pair.
Yeah.
But looking at it now, it seems that black is actually putting up quite a fight.
I think maybe you should play f4 here. I don't know, too.
Yeah,
It's,
I plan to play f4 at
Because
later
you
stage.
just need to get all your bishops in, and I think actually if white does nothing in the right way, then suddenly black will collapse. But I'm not sure how the right way is to do nothing.
Yeah, I feel I should go f4 to exchange off
Yeah,
his weak pawns on the
and
king's
also
side.
because my h
Also
pawn.
to give a route in
Yeah,
for my king.
and my h pawn.
You think you should be playing a move like this?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Also to play bishop d8 check and to take and then to carry on playing.
Right.
Later on, I was very keen to play this move,
Yes,
but I no longer had the chance.
Precisely, yeah, because I then started trying to stop you.
Right, but the other plan, I know you played this move, but the plan behind it is the bishop going to d5,
Yeah.
No.
and then coming round here
Yeah.
to b7, and then trying to eat all the black pawns on the queen side.
Yeah.
I think that was something at the back of your mind as well, wasn't it, Michael?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And so you won't
I think
bishop.
that's the most obvious plan.
Right.
This
Yes,
position.
so do I. Well, I have to try to exchange it. Maybe you should go a3 even, just to stop me going bishop c4 and then gradually move your bishop round, because I find it hard to... anyway, it's not easy to do when you have... It would be very easy to do if we were sitting in a pub playing chess, I think, but it's much harder, in my opinion, but it's much harder when it's important.
I've got another question, and this may sound a bit naive, but you're saying that you think that the move f4 might be the correct one in this position, and yet all the books say that in endings where one side is a pawn down, material down, that the weaker side should be trying to trade off pawns.
Yes, absolutely. It's. I think the thing is that here, white has one bad pawn, the f3 pawn, and also his king is a bit restricted by my bishop and knight, which
Right.
is temporarily
straight swap of
coordinated.
pawns as occurred with the A pawns is probably in black's favour.
Right.
But
Yes.
the swap of this weak pawn,
On f3.
which would leave him with one weaker pawn on the king side, also would be a good swap for white.
Okay, so white played bishop d5 now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure we're right either, but that's why I'm right, rather, and
Black
bishop
went
c4.
bishop c4.
I mean, I don't know if you win if you take this, but I didn't care. It wasn't my problem.
It's the best chance.
Absolutely. I mean, you just have to carry on playing.
And black,
I mean, you see, I think if you take, then you can play b4 later, and I may have to take that.
what you're saying is that you could have a situation like this.
And that, yes,
of that
and
nature.
although this leaves a bad pawn on c3, you prepare to set up a pass pawn on the queen's side. I would guess that you'll have to take this, and therefore white gets a pass c pawn. And I would guess this is probably winning. I don't know. Do you reckon so, Michael, or am I being...
I think probably this was
Yeah.
more favourable option.
Yes, but of course it's very tempting to keep the two bishops. Which
Absolutely, yeah. You gave a check first, did you, I think?
Bishop d8 check, correct. King
And
to e5.
Bishop b7,
Right.
and these guys came off.
You took the pawn on a2.
I think you gave check first, didn't you?
Yeah, I checked again.
And had this guy off,
Bishop takes a6.
and this guy.
Bishop back to
Well,
c4.
I mean, I'm very, very pleased to have got rid of the rook spawns, because when you have a knight, the worst thing is for your opponent to have a rook spawn, because knights travel slowly. And so, if your opponent has a passed rook spawn later, then this is absolutely disastrous.
So what you're doing is you've managed to localise the
Yeah, I've managed
damage.
to... Yeah, but it's still pretty damaged.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do?
I want bishop b7 again.
correct.
Yeah.
Possibly f4 was
Yeah,
a better alternative.
I don't know. And now I started trying to stop f4, didn't I?
You played king e6 here.
Yeah. I wanted to play bishop d5 at some point, or... I had ideas of trying to trap this bishop. I wanted to go knight d6 and then play b4, actually, that's right.
I like bishop e4,
What did I do here or something?
bishop d5.
That's right. Again, offering the trade of bishops. Now, I think that if white exchanges bishops on d5, for example, here,
Then I have reasonable chances, yeah.
king takes. Let's look at this position for a minute. The black king is now very well placed in the centre of the board.
Yeah, this would definitely be difficult. I don't know if it's...
Yes. I mean, if you reduce such a position to absolute logic,
The difference in the kings is so great, because black's king is very active and centralised,
Well,
while
but
white's king can go
No, but I mean, you'll
nowhere
play
at all.
b3 and try to put your king on d3. I mean, I'm not sure, you know. But
what I'm trying to say is that if you reduce this position to a sort of kind of logical reductio ad absurdum, you could say that if all the three black pawns get traded off for three white pawns,
Yeah,
white ends up with bishop and pawn against knight,
yeah,
then black will sacrifice his knight for the last pawn,
yes.
and white cannot win with king and bishop against king. It's not a mating force, so that would be a
Absolutely
draw.
not, no. I mean, again, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is still winning after b3 because white can just improve his king. But again, I didn't care. It's not my problem. I mean, in the ending, you know, when you're defending, what you have to do is to play plausible moves to make life as hard as possible.
All right.
So you went back with your bishop, didn't you?
Bishop c2.
Bishop to c2.
Something.
You went
Knight
to
d6.
d6, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop f4 now. Whether again, you can take this, and maybe that's winning. I didn't know.
Means that the bishop takes knight on d6.
Yeah, but there's a weak h3 pawn. It looks unlikely, doesn't it?
It's so
Worried about
interesting,
the king side.
John, that the games that you've had in this tournament so far have all boiled down to exceptionally difficult endgames.
Uh-huh.
I remember that in the quarter-final, the game you had with Matthew Sadler was a very, very tricky endgame.
Yes.
And this too has become a very tricky endgame. And would you say, as a general principle, that it's a good thing for young players who want to learn to improve their chess to concentrate on the endgame as a field of study?
I think that the endgame is something one should study. However, knowing lots about the ending doesn't mean that one can play it properly at all.
Right.
One is perfectly capable of being thoroughly incompetent, even if one knows what one ought to do.
So many high-level games do boil down to the endgame.
Oh, yes,
It's
certainly.
good to know all the tricks of the trade in that department.
Yes.
So, Michael, in this difficult endgame, what did you do now? Bishop d3, I
Continue
think,
bishop d3.
which of course threatens to take the knight and then take the pawn.
And now I stuck this
No, I
in.
don't think you did actually.
Didn't I?
Bishop c6.
No, you played bishop back to c6, just
Uh-huh.
maintaining the defence.
I thought you should go b3 round about here, but
Yes, this is a possibility for white now, slowly encroaching.
I think you should
Yeah.
do that. Because
I
it
felt
takes...
black would just go bishop d5 against b3.
Uh-huh. I see, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
So you were, after this move, you were scared of the bishop going back again?
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect what you ought to do is to take my knight, fix this guy, and then sort out the king side. And that maybe you'll be winning that, because you'll be able to set up a passed b pawn. But it's hard to tell.
So what in fact happened?
You got the wrong rook spawn, haven't you?
I've got a wrong rook spawn.
Well, we should explain that comment, because it's actually quite important.
Explain the wrong rook spawn.
Well, Michael, this bishop on d3 controls the h7 square rather than the h8 square. And all good chess players know that if you have a bishop and a rook spawn and nothing else left, then you have to control the queening square of the pawn to win. And so this is actually becoming relevant if he ever plays black bishop takes knight.
Yes.
I mean, which I hadn't realised.
So what you're saying is that the ending of king and white squared bishop and h pawn
Yeah.
against the sole black king, if the black king can get to the h8 square,
Is drawn.
then it is a draw,
Which
even
it
though white
would-
has this vast
which
material
is
advantage.
indeed, yes.
And that could become relevant in this ending.
It would become very relevant if you play bishop takes knight, and I hadn't realised this.
Yes,
I have
but
just done so.
of course he didn't play bishop as knight. Michael played bishop e2.
And now I'm starting to have some chances. I went here, didn't
Counter-attack, knight c4.
Pawn has to advance.
I thought you might go to b3 first, but I mean the same things happen.
And now black played bishop d5.
Now I must be getting quite near to having real drawing chances, I
Yes,
imagine.
and the spectators watching this could see that there was a heavy black blockade of the extra white pawn on the queen
Yeah.
side. White's got the extra pawn b4 and
Yeah.
c3 against b5. But black's got pieces on b5, c4 and d5.
Yeah.
Really an iron blockade that stops these pawns from moving
So
forwards.
what should you do now?
And it's beginning to look a bit drawish. But in fact, Michael now broke out with f4.
I managed to get an F4.
He opened a second
Not full
front.
time.
And black went king
I wonder
f5.
if perhaps I shouldn't have allowed that, actually. I should have gone, yeah.
And there was a trade of pawns on g5.
I took with the pawn, yes.
With the pawn indeed.
I
Yes.
guess that's right.
And white now played bishop to d8. And the black king went to g6.
Bishop
And,
g4, I
Bishop
think.
g4, yes, seizing a...
G4.
Now, the point of that, Michael, is you're trying to sneak this bishop round to...
That's right. Well, the only
D7.
advantage I have in this blockade is that this pawn isn't defended like
Yeah.
Right.
my one is.
So I went here.
And actually, you didn't, no.
No? I went-
No, you played knight to e5.
Yes, well, at least we're dispelling this silly myth that chess players can remember their games, aren't we?
Well, this is such a long game, and we are now, in fact, up to move 55.
Well, but
of
it
this
isn't.
extraordinarily difficult game. It's very hard to...
No, it isn't that. I mean, it's just that if you mess around a great deal in a game, then you forget how you did it. If something specific happens, you can remember games with no problem at all. But since we've been toing and froing rather incompetently, both of us. Yes, all right.
So now white played the bishop to c8,
What should I do? Bishop c6?
and no, the knight went
Knight
to c4,
That was well, I didn't intend this to be allowed.
and bishop d7,
I haven't
and knight
moved.
a3. And now the blockade is looking rather less famous.
Yeah, well, I didn't intend to allow this, of
Yeah,
course.
and
That was
black's, because of the attack on the b5 pawn, the black pieces, especially the knight, have been driven into rather silly
I would
squares.
imagine I'm losing again at the moment.
I
don't know
think
what you-
possibly white should continue with
Yeah, you
king
should just bring
G3
your
here,
king up. Yeah.
activating his king.
Yes, but the knight on a3 is really stupid. You can start to launch an attack on the other side of the
Alternatively,
board.
you can try to bring your king up to this square.
Which square would that be?
c5.
So via e3 and d4.
D4.
That looks very promising indeed.
It looks deeply unpleasant to
Yes,
me.
it does indeed. So what
I
happened?
think it wins.
You did something else. You tried to
I tried to bring the
maneuver
bishop
to
around to
attack the knight.
C1,
So
but
you went
it's
bishop
you played
b6.
bishop b6,
rather long-winded.
Bishop c4 did I play?
king f6,
Oh yes,
bishop c5 happened now.
Bishop C5,
Mm.
possibly bishop E3.
bishop
is
e3 I think.
Probably better.
Bishop b6 I played, sure.
Bishop e6, yes.
Yeah.
And then Michael avoided the trade
Yeah.
and played the bishop to c6.
Don't know if you should have done. I
And
took.
now, once again, black's got material equality, but the problem is that the white bishop's going to come around to the c1 square. I'll just map this out on the board here and here,
Yeah.
attacking the knight. And once that knight moves, white can play bishop takes the pawn on b5. So that's the danger threatening black in this position. And in fact, Michael, you set out on this journey now by playing bishop e3.
I know I played a
Started
mistake,
this
didn't I?
plan.
I should just go king somewhere to
Yeah, king move.
e7. I don't need this pawn
Draw
anymore,
here.
Right, but you
Yeah.
played bishop e6,
which is a mistake. And he
Right.
went here,
bishop
C1,
c1,
and knight b1.
and now bishop takes
Take
b5.
pawn.
And now,
You had a strong... No, bishop f5, e4 might win, actually. Don't know.
Bishop
Bishop
takes
takes
I've got bishop f5, actually.
yes. But in fact, he took the pawn, which is very natural, right?
And I now went...
Now, this is an interesting key position.
It
Would you like
is.
to tell us what happened here, John?
Well, I went to take this pawn, and I got to about
This
there,
pawn being...
the c3 pawn, I would say. And we were now playing blitz chess,
So
in my understanding.
you had your hand
No,
prepared to play knight
I hadn't
six.
picked... Had I picked up the knight, even? I hadn't
You,
picked
hadn't-
up...
you went to
No,
pick up the
because I,
pawn.
in fact, go to pick up the pawn rather than the knight.
Right.
And as I did so, I said jadoo, which one does when one plays blitz chess. One doesn't when one's playing properly. I mean, touch move is absolutely
Saying
a
jadoo
rule.
always means I adjust the piece.
Well, it means basically I don't want to move the piece I've touched. And when one plays blitz chess in England, one's allowed to do that, and the continent one isn't.
Yes.
And I felt that I touched this, and I asked him, and which I shouldn't ask Michael,
Yes.
apart from the else, because he's littler than me.
Yes, but being gentleman, the game took its normal course. In fact,
Yeah.
if black plays knight takes pawn here,
So then bishop there
then
wins.
bishop there,
Absolutely.
wins knight and wins it.
No,
That's
but I
the
was
game.
completely wrong, and I felt rather bad afterwards.
But anyway, so you actually played king e5.
I
very,
did.
very sporting behaviour, I must say, Mike.
Yes, extremely. But he
white
was also
played-
put under pressure he shouldn't have been.
White played bishop b2.
Yeah.
Knight went to d2, trying to
Yeah.
get the blockade back on the c4 square.
Presumably c4
But you
check.
played c4 check. That's check from the bishop against the black king.
King
The king went into e4,
e4, did I guess? Yes. That's very bright of me.
and then the pawn was pushed on to c5. And do you think you're winning this again now, Michael?
I'm not sure exactly.
But
I think
black
possibly not.
has his pieces in good defensive
Yeah.
squares.
Yeah. So knight c4 happened,
Right.
and you gave check, didn't you? Which is a bad mistake, after which it's clearly drawn.
Yes, bishop c6 check. This really endangers the win.
Well,
Bishop-
no, it actually ends the win,
Right,
doesn't
bishop
it?
d5.
There's no win anymore.
And the game concluded? with bishop takes d5 check.
Takes D5.
And now I have a perfect
King
blockade.
takes d5. Bishop c3. Bishop
C3 should go to C1
Knight
as well.
a3.
It's better. Now I have a blockade of the
King
pawns.
g3.
Knight b5.
King c6, actually.
Well, it doesn't, makes no difference.
Yes, that's what I said.
Uh,
And the last few moves were?
Well, I don't even know, but I mean, essentially, I get my pieces like this.
Yes.
Once I like this, I have this square, this square, this square, this square, and this square for my knight.
Yes. So what we're essentially saying that in this position, the game was agreed a draw.
Indeed it was.
Because although white is 1 or 2 pawns up, there's absolutely no progress that can be made.
No.
Well, thank you both very much, gentlemen. Michael in particular, a very, very close shave, in fact, almost beating John Speelman. And congratulations to you too, John.
Oh, yes.
Saving what looked like an absolutely terribly bad position. You must have been a bit disappointed not to win, Michael.
Yes, well, it's always a bit upsetting not to win a position that's so good as that one.
Yes, I mean, at various stages you were 1 pawn up, or 2 pawns up, or 1 pawn up, and there was this little incident where John very nearly took a pawn that would have been fatal.
That's right. We just have to look forward to the 5-minute game now.
Very
He
interesting.
does.
Well, that was a fascinating struggle, a bitter endgame battle. Join us again after the break to see the 5-minute Blitz playoff with John Speelman now playing white against Michael. I'm back for the Blitz playoff. I have now joined former US champion Larry Evans to comment on the Blitz as it happens. And here we have the 5-minute playoff between John Speelman with white and Michael Adams black. The first game was drawn, and now each player has 5 minutes to complete all of his moves in this playoff. The opening, Speelman favourite, it's called the Bogolyubov Indian defence after a famous grandmaster of the 20s, Yefim Bogolyubov. White developing his bishop on the king's flank, so-called fianchetto, black castles. Out comes the white bishop. Black trades bishops with a check. White will probably take back with the queen. Absolutely. Black constructing a small pawn centre here. Not a very exciting opening, Larry. What do you think?
Rather slow, but I would say that Speelman is in very good shape psychologically, having gotten rid of a bad position in that first game, and now he has the white pieces.
Yes, that first game proved that there's, in fact, life after death, didn't it, Larry?
Yes.
So Speelman must be feeling good here. He's escaped from certain death, and now he's playing with the advantage of the white pieces, rather like having the serve in tennis. White's got a big pawn centre, pawns on c4, d4 and e4. Black has to snipe at this from the edges. Out comes the black bishop, putting some pressure on the white centre.
Probably should advance the pawn to d5 now.
I would do that. I would push on that pawn from d4 to d5. And yes, he's done it. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes back. Pawn up, stopping white from expanding on the left flank. So white's got 2 choices here. He can either try and push forwards on the left-hand side, move his pawns forwards, or, which is more likely, try and attack on the king's flank by making a move like pawn to f4 at some point. Maybe now, maybe in the next few moves. First, a little safety move on the left. Do you think he's going to play for f4, Larry? Pushing the king's bishop's pawn?
It's hard to say. He may play rook a1 to b1, a3, and start advancing on the queen side.
Yes, also a good plan.
That's the purpose of b3, basically.
So now rook b1 will be, rook a to b1 will be the favoured move in that strategy. No, he's putting his rook in the centre.
He's going to play for f4. He's going to play for the king side attack.
Yes, he's leaving the queen side to look after itself, and he's going to go for a blitz against the black king, involving a levering move of the white pawn that's now on f2, pushing it to f4. Dangerous plan. It's always worthwhile going for your opponent's king in blitz chess. Black trying to get central counterplay, making a little pawn move there. And now I expect white to play his pawn from f2 to f4. That's the whole point of his strategy so far. If he doesn't do it, his moves up to now revealed as somewhat planless. Do you see anything else, Larry?
No, he's all masked for it. He might as well go ahead with it.
Yes, he's all dressed up and somewhere to go. And the somewhere is f2 to f4. But he hasn't played it. He's just slightly improved the position of his queen first.
It's a question as to whether he's improved the position of his queen, indeed.
Well, this is either masterful waiting or dithering.
I would have played f4 immediately.
I would have played f4 too.
No reason to wait.
It seems to me that the white queen on e3 is exposed to attack by a move like knight from f6 to g4, for example. It doesn't seem to improve things at all. Queen across. No, he doesn't play f4 now, surely. No, he hasn't played it.
This is inconsistent.
No, he's very inconsistent. Black trades.
Take with the knight. Now he's going to try and work against that backward queen's pawn.
Yes. Knight takes. Black must surely take this off.
Black should have taken immediately before that.
And the clock, Speelman's used rather more time. Both of them have very little time anyway, but Speelman's used up almost half his time. His clock flag is beginning to hang.
White has the better game.
Yes, but Black's position is very hard to crack.
Yes.
Doubling rooks, attacking the pawn on d6, which Black can defend quite easily.
Rook to d8, rook a8 to d8.
Yes, natural move.
But
Rook e to d8 instead.
now Black wants to play his knight back to e6 and then jump into d4 and block that queen's file.
Yeah, so bishop h3 is the natural, it stops it.
Yes.
No, White is still, in spite of this dithering and havering around, White is still somewhat better. And this is a very typical Speelman position. Pressure, slight pressure against a slight Black weakness. But Black does it anyway. And White slices off the bishop, slices off the knight with his bishop, and rook goes into b5. And now White's distinctly better. Pressure with that roving rook on the b file, more pressure in the d file. What did Black do wrong, Larry? I think perhaps he traded off too quickly in the centre.
He should have taken in the center before White played rook to d1, so that he could have forced White to recapture with the pawn and block and close the file.
Yes, I think you're right about that. It's very difficult to spot such finesses when you're playing at such a fast time rate, and the clock's both about the same, both with about 2.5 minutes left for all the moves. Speelman's queen drops back, eyeing the pawn on a5 and the pawn on d6. Aha, tactical trick which Black had overlooked. Rook takes pawn in the centre. Black can't take back because the queen takes rook on d8 check. But there was really very little he could do about that. Now Speelman is clearly winning. Black's position is smashed. White's a pawn up. I don't expect Speelman to make the hash of the technical part that Adams did in the first game. I expect the next part of the game to be a very smooth technical cream out by Speelman. Up comes the white pawn. Black attacks the white pawn on c4. Up goes the pawn again. Black trades. White takes with the rook. White's piece is dominating the board. Rook takes. Takes with the pawn. Attacking the pawn on c5. White defends. Black defends his pawn on a4. Moves coming very quickly now. Both clock flags hanging.
It's taking too long.
Yes, it's important to move quickly in positions like this. Up comes the white pawn. Speelman has his pawn on c5 attacked, and he can't take. He's about to lose his pawn back. Queen into e5, pawn takes. Not quite the smooth technical performance I've been expecting.
Well, he was caught with his pawns down.
Yes. No, this advantage is evaporated.
Yes.
He should have taken the pawn on a4 when he had the chance. A few moves back he could have played queen takes a4 and given up the pawn on c5. Well, this is a manoeuvring position. Maybe White's still got some slight edge, some chances. The pawn on a3 is a bit weak. Queen back, defending the pawn on a3.
If Adams manages to draw this game, it would be as much as a miracle as
the first one, yes.
First, yes.
Yes. Counter-attack. White queen defends.
Defending.
But now the pawn on a3 is hanging.
Yep.
He's just left it. No. This game is a comedy of errors. A comedy of errors. No, there goes a check. I don't like that move very much. Now Black's position is really falling apart.
He's still alive.
Still
He's
struggling.
That check.
Struggling a bit,
check.
but is that check such a big deal?
Yes.
He stopped it anyway. Queen in. 4 pawns each. White plays a defense. Then the pawn goes. This is an absolute travesty. Both clocks hanging.
Black is winning.
Black is winning.
Well, he's pawn ahead.
He's a pawn up with 2 connected passed pawns. Spielman's position is completely smashed. The pawn on a3 is weak. Desperate last. The rook takes pawn check. King up. Reduced to this. check, takes, rook takes pawn, check. Can Speelman save this? Rook e3, king up, king takes the pawn, king up, king back, king up. Now what? Check, king up, rook in, pawn up.
Oh,
Take
now
it.
It's a win. It's a
This is
technical,
win.
Black, yes. This is Lucina position.
Yes, so black is winning. The pawn will promote.
Oh.
Banging the moves out, machine gun like fire, but the black pawn will triumph. That black pawn on g4 will win the game. Up comes the pawn. King in.
What a change of fortune.
King up. Inexorably, the pawn moves forwards. Nothing to do about this.
It's hard to believe.
Check. Pawn queens. Absolutely over. Nothing to do. King and rook against king. Simple technical win.
Yeah. Adams has more time on the clock, too.
Yeah, so this is absolutely over. Very simple technical win.
Yes.
Michael Adams wins. Speelman
Incredible.
loses on time. Michael Adams goes through to the final. An absolute upset. John Speelman out. Well, that was a real sensation. Young Michael Adams, just an international master, has defeated the mighty World Championship candidate, John Speelman. A real sensation. Join us next week at the same time on Thames for the second semi-final in the James Capel Speed Chess Challenge to see how Nigel Short fares against his assistant, Dr. John Nunn.
Well, in fact, it will be slightly later next week at 1:25.